to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the audiobook The Hounds of Artemis, written by James Cross and is read by Matt Smith and Claire Kerbent. This story is mainly known for its delays. Originally, it was supposed to be the first ever release to tie in with the Matt Smith era of Doctor Who. Originally planned to be, it was originally scheduled to come out on the 8th of April 2010. However, it got pushed back to the 3rd of June, and then, for unknown reasons, it was pushed back until the 5th of May the next year, 2011. Originally, Karen Gillan, the actress who plays Amy Pond, was originally supposed to have read it as well, doing half the story with her character. However, for unknown reasons, she didn't reprise her role here. So what the story does instead is they get Claire Kerbent to basically play this narrator character that reads Amy Pond's diary. There are certain segments where the story takes essentially I don't know what you would say it. It's not third person, it's not a first person because she's reading it from a second person point of view, where you have this character and she's essentially reading Amy Pond's diary, but she reads it really into it. So her voice starts pacing when the characters are running, and when things are tenser, she starts reading faster. When Matt Smith reads, it's essentially a normal audiobook. It is kind of strange how one character is speaking mainly in first person and the other actor isn't. But Matt Smith reads his bit normally with little segments of Amy Pond's diary, read again, like I said, from another character where Claire Kerbent reads her part. I personally really think this is a great solution. If they just had her play Amy Pond, it would be very weird and strange and would take you out of the experience. However, the fact that they firmly established that this isn't Amy reading the book, but rather a different character, means it's much more easy to digest. Speaking of digest, a lot of people always ask me when it comes to audiobooks and anything outside of the TV is, how immersive is the story? Could you listen to this and picture yourself watching it on TV? For that, I say 50-50. The story, with having Matt Smith in it and his dialogue, feels very much like the 11th Doctor. And like I said, the fact that they bypass the issue of Amy Pond by having it be her diary when she gets read, does help you immerse with that character, as you're not listening to this thinking that this is supposed to be Amy Pond. But I will say the actual story itself doesn't feel like it belongs in the 11th Doctor era. There's a lot more horror themed. There's a lot less fairy tale environment, which the 11th Doctor usually thrives at, as well as just the narrative of it doesn't feel like a 11th Doctor story, and is much more entwined to classic era stories. In fact, this story is very similar to the 6th Doctor's webcast Real Time, I think it was called. As we get this expedition and stuff. Overall, I've heard a lot of good people. I've heard a lot of people say good things about this story. The fact that it's so immersive, the fact that it's Matt Smith's in it, and the fact that the story takes some nice and great little twists with the adventure, made it a highly sought after adventure for me personally. So, let's start with the story. The story starts off with this expedition. This is set in 1929 in Smyrna, I can't pronounce it. And we have this expedition, and they're about to unravel this tomb, the tomb of Artemis. And they're just about to break through the door, and they break through the door, only to be greeted by the Doctor and Amy on the inside. And that is actually a pre-credit sequence leading into the credits. This is a fun little way to start the adventure. However, going by expanded media, this stuff happens like all the time. Someone tries to get into a location, they get into the location only for the Doctor and Amy to arrive, the Doctor and his companions to arrive inside said location, and nobody kind of questions it. Like, it is kind of strange how nobody's just like, nobody even ponders the fact, like, how the hell were the Doctor and Amy inside the tomb, despite it has been locked for like hundreds upon hundreds of years. So throughout the first half of the story, we basically just set up the stakes as we get introduced to our characters. We have Woolcroft, this he's like this like expert, but he's also like where the money is at. We also have Bradley Stapleton, who is this actually I can't remember which one's which now. That's terrible. One of the characters is he's a young explorer who's been hired by this millionaire to expedite the tomb of Artemis, and according to future events, only the young explorer actually survives, and everybody else has mysterious things happen to them, which, according to history, nobody knows about. And the Doctor states this to Amy without Amy actually knowing the full history of the story. I don't know if the story is actually based on a real life event. I can't find anything. I don't know if this is actually like a historical or not, but I can't find anything. And the fact when we get like more deeper into the story, I'm going to presume not, due to certain events that happens here. We also have Helen and Miss Van der Cass, and there's not really much to talk about these characters. There's they each have some sort of greed about them, and that's kind of what this story kind of plays on, the concept of greed, with each character having something, with one of them really liking their drinks. One of the women, described as a fat German woman, loves the food and does whatever she can to get her hands on food. One of the leader of the expedition is fascinated with money, whilst the explorer is of course trying to find and trying to achieve like his goals of being the first to find these things in history. And what makes this story really unique, in one of the reasons it makes this story unique, is that the Doctor knows this as a historical event, but Amy doesn't. And so we go into this story with the Doctor essentially telling Amy that this is kind of a mystery, we've come to explore to find out what's happening, but we're not really here to interfere, we're not here to save anybody to a degree, we're here to just find out the mystery and hopefully leave without causing too much disturbance on the timeline. Only for them to get trapped in the tomb of Artemis and finally meet a seemingly ancient priestess, the priestess of fear, and this is when the story takes a massively interesting turn, in my opinion. For starters, the priestess is just such a fun character to hang around with. She starts off by just being really happy and giggly, and it's just laughing at the fact that just really enjoying everyone's company. It's like, hello, I'm the princess of fear. I'm here to fear you off your fear, but don't worry. There's food on the other side of this curtain, and you're all gonna be fine. Just don't worry and enjoy yourselves. And despite her being in a room which, like I said, everybody she was inside a tomb. Everybody seemed to be really joyfully acceptance of this, which gets explained later on, as when they look into the food, everybody comes down with this massive hunger, with only really the doctor realizing what's going on and tries to convince everybody that the food there isn't actually neither not as real, or like it's not actually food. It's some sort of there's some sort of psychic connection that's drawing people to this food, to making them absurdly hungry. He can't seem to snap everybody else, including himself, as he struggles to fight. But he can get Amy. He can talk to Amy, and Amy does actually fight the hunger to the point where she actually turns away and runs out. We also see a creature, the titular Hound of Artemis, these werewolf-like creatures, which it's strange because at the start of the story they see seemingly two statues, but there's also like an empty Plymouth in the middle of the room, and earlier on one of them gets attacked by one of these hounds. So it's kind of implying, like just like the Jaded Pyramid, that these creatures are like sentient statues or sentient like robots disguised as statues. However, that's not really the case, as later on we get another explanation for them. So, I don't know. But we see one get attacking one of our characters earlier on in the adventure, and we see that this feast, the hounds are here, and I love how the priestess is just like, don't worry, don't fear, they're not going to harm you, they just want to watch you eat. And when she asks, where's the girl that was with you, and the doctor's just like, oh no, she's gone to get some more disciples, you know, she really likes to armor us, and she wants to bring back more gifts and stuff. But I guess the priestess, kind of knows what's happening, so she summons the hounds to track her down and try and bring her back to feast. And so we get these two really interesting scenes, in my opinion, happening simultaneously, keeping the story very engaging and very fun and very very exciting. As on one hand we have the Doctor trying to fight in this hunger he has. Later on, the other people in the expedition, seemingly all with the exception of the young archaeologist, seemingly give in to the hunger and feed off the food that's on the banquet. However, they all start turning into hounds, which is the other explanation I was talking about. So whether these hounds are statues come to life, or whether they are people that have turned into these beasts, or whether one of them is a statue and the other ones and everybody else is just a person that's been transformed. I don't know. The doctor has to keep on fighting as the priestess. He's talking to the priestess, and he kind of realizes that that Artemis is kind of psychically controlling her, despite people around in the local area believing that Artemis is some sort of god. The Doctor realizes this is so easily a parasital alien intelligence that feeds off psychic energy and has basically been infecting the local area, changing all the women in the local area, which is what I was talking about when I said I don't believe this story has any sort of connection to real life events, because it's explained here that the village nearby, all the women have some sort of accurate telepathic ability, and that many centuries ago due to being evolving right near a psychical energy entity. Artemis takes one of the girls and turns her into its priestess, which is how we got this character, which we later learn is named, I believe her name is Sophie, and the Doctor tries to slowly convince her that she is a good person. But on the other hand, we also have Amy's storyline, which is actually what I'm actually really thrilled about, because though it is a bit contrived, because it does mean that because of the fact that Karen Gillan is not here and got another person reading her parts, the story does kind of take this thing where even though Amy's supposed to be running from the Hounds, she's writing in her diary constantly. And so what's happening is that we have a character in the future who has found Amy's diary, looking back at this archaeology of this event from Amy's point of view. So whether Amy left her diary there, I presume so, or maybe get a bit overtracked and going into future episodes. In Angels Take Manhattan, Amy and Rory find themselves in I believe it's the 1950s. So there could be a chance that this is Amy's diary from many years later down in the Doctor Who canon. So that's kind of interesting. But what I really like this scene here, essentially Amy's running in and she gets these time where she gets to breathe and gets to read in her diary. However, because of the psychic connection, she can almost feel like there's another person there. And we get some really creepy scenes of Amy basically writing, it's like, right, I'm running away, I gotta leave, I gotta get out of here now and come back with a plan. And then all of a sudden she starts writing in seemingly not her own voice. It's like, I can see you, I know where you are, and you gotta come and worship Artemis. And then later on she's like, I didn't write that. That wasn't me. Someone is in my head. Someone is into me, is inside. And the idea of being mind control is always something that I'm fascinated with in storylines. But the fact that this is coming from her diary, and in her diary it's almost like there's a second person almost hijacking her diary and trying to convince her to go back, is just some of phenomenally well realized ideas and really gets you adversed in the storyline. And so Amy not only being chased by the Hounds, but also has this creature speaking to her in her mind. There's a great moment where the narrator is reading this, and there's a bit where it's like, this bit in Amy's diary, it doesn't make much sense. It's hard to read. No! The next bit in the diary is a bit more easier to understand. Sorry about that. It was hard to write that down as you're running. Kind of implying that Amy's writing and running at the same time, which is just hilarious. Just an hilarious piece of writing right there. And so, we got some really fun little moments here and there. And I really do like this concept. It's mainly just played there for creepy factor, and it doesn't really play much into Amy's character or anything. At one point, Amy does run past a crack in the wall, seemingly tying into the events of Series 5, because this story does take place in Series 5. Like I said, it was supposedly supposed to be released earlier, however, it got delayed until the 5th of May of the next year, of the series. So chronologically it takes place here. And so the crack in time, this was pre-resetting the universe, so there's cracks in the universe. And so the Doctor is basically talking to Artemis, who has no control over him because he's a Time Lord, he's not a human, and essentially he's trying to convince Sophia to basically break out of Artemis's control. And when the Doctor learns about the village of psychic women, it turns out that there's basically been this treasure trove of just a bunch of elderly women with psychic abilities seemingly stored here. And the Doctor kind of clicks that these people can actually fight against Artemis. And he realizes that they've been building an army, but it's not for Artemis, it's for himself. And so he has an army of just of psychic women. That sounds a lot epic than it actually is. To combat the threat and basically lock the tomb up forever. And the Doctor, Amy, and the young archaeologist escape with the Hounds seemingly surviving, but inside, and we get you can hear howls and stuff in the background and stuff. And that is the Hounds of Artemis. Overall, really a fun piece. There's not much of a character beat here, but in terms of plot and in terms of creepy, moody atmosphere and unique storytelling perspectives, this is actually a really great listen. It doesn't feel like it came from Series 5, but it does feel immersive in the fact that you can generally believe that Matt Smith, who actually is reading it, is playing his Doctor, and Amy is also in the adventure. So in that sense, it kind of feels like a sub series within Series 5, if that makes any sense. As that fairy tale aspect of the 11th Doctor isn't really there. It's essentially if the 11th Doctor was in a Philip Hinchcliffe story. And when you consider it from that point of view, this story is a lot of fun and is really engaging. It might even be my favourite of the 3 audiobooks that I own, featuring Matt Smith reading out 11th Doctor stories, which is really cool in my opinion. So that is the Hounds of Artemis. So join me next time where a character, Craig, needs a new flatmate, and he gets one in the form of the Doctor. So join me next time for The Lodger, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!